This video contains pixelated depictions of blood and gore, as well as occasionally flickering lights. This is part 2 of my Doom 1 analysis, where I try to figure out what all the maps are supposed to represent. If you have any questions, go watch that one first, link is below. Welcome to Deimos Anomaly. Like Phobos, but now in hell. Oh, mild spoiler. Obviously, you have no weapons since you just, well, died. Wouldn't be surprised if you had to get your equipment off a corpse before you got here. And you likely did that by climbing through this window. Or is it a window? Because the outside of it has door textures, so maybe this was a security door or airlock the demons breached. Heading forward, you will see one of Doom's most iconic sights. The inverted cross glowing bright red, so hot that it burns you as you walk through. Before this is a pentagram on the floor, which the demons have begun adding to all the bases to get around quicker. Taking the Hellgate takes you downstairs where you can find a shotgun. It's resting on a pedestal surrounded by candles, almost like an offering. To whom, you ask? Why, to the player, of course. Hell thinks it has already triumphed and is holding you in its clutches. So why not have a little fun with you? It's offering you a way out to see how much of a hero you really are, even in its domain. But even this platform is made of red hot ash, hurting you as you pick up the gun. Doom 3 added a lot of these goofy demonic laughs in certain scenes, which definitely haven't aged so well, but this is absolutely an instance where it would fit. Like on Phobos, the floor is cracked and sunk into not toxic sludge, but boiling blood. It's never clear where this blood comes from, perhaps from some poor sinners, or maybe from former employees. After flipping a switch, and then another switch, you reach a part of the base that's been completely corrupted. Cold steel has been replaced with green marble. Here, Hell continues to mess with you by giving you two switches. One opens up a secret once, the other unleashes a horde of pinkies. Choose wisely. Further ahead, the doorway to the secret room is submerged in yet more blood, forcing you to take damage as you step through to get the goodies inside. Even once you reach the exit, a Kalki demon crashes through the wall to ambush you. And if you think the worst is behind you, Hell pulls a fast one yet again, as there's an imp in the exit chamber, just to add insult to injury. This whole map is like a Saw movie, where Doomguy has to drag his way through broken glass, just to get a knife to cut his leg off. Hell is all about torture, and it's doing that here, just not in the classical sense. On the map screen, this level looks near identical to Phobos Anomaly, implying it's the same type of building. Heck, it's even made out of the same walls. Furthermore, both maps were already corrupted. Phobos Anomaly had a long hallway, while this one has the inverted cross. It's evident that the Anomaly refers to the demonic portals, which on Phobos was the quote elevator. Here, it could be the inverted cross, especially considering it's made out of the same material. Also, just like in the second crater on Phobos, there's not a single corpse here either. What's interesting about episode 2 is that the demon's base is pretty much the same as the Phobos one, except that you're walking backwards through it. Starting at the top this time, you go from an anomaly to a lab, and finally a level with command in the name. Essentially, you're taking the same way the demons took in the first episode. And said way takes you to the next level, namely Containment area. Now, the name has several meanings. First, it could be an area where cargo is contained, where they try to contain the demons like a virus, or where part of Hell is contained. Honestly, it's probably all three. In the giant warehouse at the start, there are several goodies scattered about, next to a lot of marine corpses. They likely tried to fight the demons for supplies, but it went poorly. Very poorly, as there's not a single former human anywhere. The crate with the shotgun is probably meant to be held up by a crane, which then lowers it to the ground as you press the switch. It requires using your imagination, same as Doomguy breaking through some crates in another part. Now, if only he had a crowbar of sorts. Next to it is a highly secure area locked by the yellow key, where all the important and expensive equipment is kept. The 3 rooms with the items are even locked off via 3 additional switches. I theorized that this is the weapons depot, indicated by the rocket launcher and ammo. Considering the room next to it contains toxic waste and this one has what looks like a walkway, it's possible that it's also usually filled with it. However, the silver pipes around have likely already pumped it out, a rare instance of a place being safer after the invasion. The very middle of the level is just straight up a part of hell, one you enter via these metallic portals. Like many other maps, this section looked much more like a tech base in the beta. However, what if that's actually what it looked like originally before hell invaded? I mean, it seems almost like it's carved into the base itself, considering the windows and USC doors. Nearby is even some sort of reactor area. People have interpreted these blinking blue lights as harmful electricity, but what if it's radiation or microwaves? You're really not meant to be here, but as you can see by the wooden walls, hell has dug its way through the machinery like a worm. You can even see the demons doing this themselves when they break through the wall, exposing the circuitry beneath. This reactor is then connected to a large engine room with smorgasborders, which either create or convert energy. You can even enter the machine and gain access to the exhaust ports. This whole level is in extremely poor shape. The floor is covered in ash and rubble, the walls have exposed cables, and the electricity is almost completely out in certain areas. Enemies are tearing through walls like paper, and more floor has been consumed by toxic waste. And the yellow key can only be reached via an emergency walkway. It's obvious that a battle went down here, one that left the level utterly devastated. Hell then turned what's left of it into something of its own liking, such as by stretching human skin across the entire ceiling. Hell also continues to mess with you. At the blue key is a soul sphere that lowers after you step in a certain spot, but only once. You barely even get enough time to react before it pulls it away from you again. You want the goodie? You want it? Then get it! Go get it! Oh, too slow. And then there's the matter of the giant crushers. It could be some sort of machine, but notice how they're made of wood and have skulls on them. The walls are even on fire. No, this is Hell's doing, morphing the base into a building that fights back. On the map view, the level looks almost identical to Command Control from episode 1. And here too, there's a middle structure connecting two halves. Maybe these pillars were originally pipes and served a similar purpose to the one from E1M4, pumping waste below. The building on the right side is likely the storage hall, as it's just one large area. The towers on the left could then represent the reactor and the smorgasborders. Also worth noting is the fact that while the map screen of the first episodes had blinking lights on all the buildings, it's not the case here. This could be pointing towards the fact that these facilities are all offline and disconnected from each other. And one of such facilities is Refinery, which, yep, it sure is, evidenced by all these pipes everywhere. The blinking area with the imps and lost souls even reminds me of those maintenance sections from Doom 3. The building with the khaki demons inside is probably a giant vat filled with liquid that has already been refined. It even has doors on the inside, should you want to access it. The metal bars are meant to represent windows, so you can observe the process inside. The room where the refinement takes place is just on the right, and it's utterly destroyed. The walls have holes in them, and if there was any machinery in here, not anymore. Several other areas are also filled with sludge. You can tell it's not meant to be like this, since a lot of the pipes have burst or are filled with scorched holes. It's almost like the demons don't want the waste to get refined, but why? Well, let's address the elephant in the room. There are vines everywhere, more than in any other Doom map, including Doom 2. And I said in that video that these are hellish vines that can easily spread anywhere they're not supposed to. And just look at them, they're completely green, healthier than they have ever been before. They thrive off of the nuclear waste since it makes them grow much faster. Remember, this is the 90s, where many superheroes and supervillains were created via toxic waste. And the demons evidently wanted this to happen. Why though? Because this is what happens when human buildings get hellified. First, vines grow everywhere, then they dry out, harden, and turn into hell geometry. Which seems to have already happened on the left side of the map, so maybe that marble is green for a reason. No wonder they targeted Phobos then. oh, that delicious valuable waste speeds up the corruption process. Worse still, however, is the fact that the actual building itself seems to be alive. There's a spinning wall near the exit, and more importantly, the meat room, which could be anything from a beating heart to a breathing lung or pulsating guts. So, much like the host of Leaves from Doom 2, it seems that turning inanimate places into living creatures is also one of Hell's goals. I shudder to even think about it. Here's hoping that it's the last time we'll see this. On the map, the level is divided again into two parts, a flat plane on the right and a cuboid with a dome on the left. Since it's the tallest place in the level, I think the marble zone is meant to represent the dome, with the yellow window actually being the outdoor area. The other half is then just a large assortment of pipes, something actual refineries have as well, which lines up with the rest of the level. This part also contains the exit, which we can use to thankfully leave this map and its god-forsaken music behind to go to Deimos Lab, my favorite level of episode 2. Now, this place seems pretty alright at the start. Sure, some of the pipes collapse once you try to defile a demonic altar by removing the skull on top, but the metallic walls look rather pristine. That is, until you step into the main area and oh, the sewer count +1, ding ding ding! But this is a laboratory. Why would there be a massive sewage area here? And if it's not that, what could these giant holes have been used for? Well, I'll give you one hint.
Good morning and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System.
Yep, remember how Underholes could be a subway station? Why would this be any different? It certainly explains why all these tunnels are interconnected, with these little platforms protruding from the sewage. One of the areas even opens up only after you've done a loop in a certain direction, almost like you're switching tracks. So I like to imagine that the area below the waist is in actuality extremely deep, and you're forced to swim through it. Thank God for that hazard suit. Oh wait, wrong guy. But evidently this area has been torn to shreds, with some of the floors having collapsed, as they tend to do. The ceiling also caves in, symbolized here by the crushers. And to make matters worse, faces of Sandy's wife are growing out of the walls like warts. The blue tech area, on the other hand, seems fine by comparison, except for this glowing marble carving of a Baron of Hell's face. As pointed out by RJY on Doomworld, these are often placed right before an encounter with said Baron, almost like a warning for the player. I interpret it as the Baron's using these carvings to spy on the player to prepare for an ambush. Which would also explain a lot of the other faces and grotesques. They're not just decoration, they're security cameras. The other interesting part is the computer area, where the terminal in the middle has several crushed human remains beneath it. As it's not a very inviting area, you try to leave, before noticing that you're now locked in. If, for whatever reason, you decide to step inside the machine, the ceiling caves in and crushes you too. So, like many times before, the electronics have evidently given out and machines are going haywire. But how would these corpses have been crushed if this was the first time the ceiling collapsed? And say, these eyes on the computer sure do make it look like a giant head. Is this thing alive? I mean, we've already established that demonic corruption can turn buildings alive, so why not a computer too? Keep in mind that merging flesh with technology is a core theme of Hell, seen via several enemies. Heck, Doom 2 RPG even features the virtual icon of sin, which sucks you into a virtual reality to attack you. So the machine itself is locking you inside the room to try to lure you into its mouth because it hungers. You can even shoot the inside walls to raise the floor or a nearby wall, almost like you're trying to make it let go. And I'm not the only one with this interpretation, as RJY brought it up as well. Nearby is a room with another crusher, one that's decidedly more hellish though. Is it possible that this area used to be a computer room too, and the other one will eventually look similar to this? One of the last areas of note is the maintenance section, now almost entirely destroyed, seen by the scorched pipes, lava and rough floor texture. Here the building tries to trap you again in an area that's very much alive, almost like you're meant to serve as fertilizers for the vines on the walls. These vines are also present on the inside of the donut, turning the concrete walls into the green marble surrounding it. To get down, you need to walk on a giant spinal column that caves in under the pressure. No doubt a part of the creature that makes up the building now. It even seems to connect right to its quote brain, which used to be the main computer station. Right in the middle of it is the core, which acts as a teleporter. As seen in Doom 2, this could be where the demons were spawned from. Maybe these vines even act as arteries. However, some brave former employee deactivated the stairs leading up to it, trying to prevent the monsters from spreading. But since khaki demons don't really need to use them in the first place, they're the only demons to make it downstairs. The only exception are the ones guarding the switch to the spinal cord, preventing you from pressing it. And even if you try to do it, the building messes with you once again, making you think you're being crushed for the 100th time by raising the floor just the slightest bit. I have to admit, this one actually got me. You can escape this place by stomping on the computer's brain, which makes it finally relent and set you free. In the final area, you can see the tortured souls of the former employees scream in agony as they move across the wall. And one last time, the building makes you jump into boiling blood before you can exit. Talk about a sore loser. On the map, this place looks identical to Deimos Lab, though smaller. I guess this is just what laboratories on Mars are. Strangely, none of the buildings actually line up with the areas on the map. However, notice how you never actually physically walk into the lab, but instead get teleported there. So in actuality, we're deep below the ground and never even see what the upstairs looks like. Considering the similarities, I assume it's exactly like Deimos Lab, which we didn't need to play through again. But it makes me wonder, did that map also have an underground area? And if so, what horrors did we miss? But let's not dwell on that and instead go to the next level, namely Command Center. Right ahead of the start is the elevated security office to keep track of everyone who enters and leaves, which is unnecessary at this point as the entrance has long since collapsed. The rest of the level, on the other hand, is full of hellish influence. Lots of wooden elements, skulls, grotesques, and many more vines thriving on toxic waste. The impaled heads in the outdoor section serve as decoration and seem to belong to former soldiers, their helmets placed neatly behind them. And of course, two barons lampshaded by the symbol on the pillars. I'm not going to point out all the other Hellified zones, as there's a lot. But worth mentioning is the flesh room, where human skin has been stretched across the walls. We can even kind of see this process in action. A hanging human has had their legs removed and would have likely been flayed alive if you hadn't arrived. A shame you can't help them otherwise. The remains of the humans then get repurposed into other art projects like the skull candles. And of course, more merging of flesh and machine, which could hint towards this place being alive as well. Nearby is a pool of water, which could have been a cooling tank. In the lower left corner of the map is even more toxic sludge. Here, the vines are growing in the air, which could imply that hell can also create structures without needing to modify existing ones first. This place connects to a chamber with a baron inside of a cage, an unusual sight. As Shallow puts it,
Secret Baron! You think they were like studying him in here? They've got him all locked up in a cage. Or, since this is the command center, maybe that Baron's in charge of this sort of local group of demons.
Personally, I believe this was another trap set by the humans, one which the Baron was not happy to fall into. The walls around him are completely scorched, implying he flung his fireballs wildly, trying to escape. As RJY points out, this one wasn't even highlighted by a marble carving. There's an Icon of Sin one you get to only after meeting him, and an Archvile one. Maybe this is how he got trapped, he couldn't spy ahead first. The Archvile face is also interesting because just its mere presence harms you. It could be demonic energy, but considering whose face it is, it's likely actually burning you. Almost like the Archvile is already getting a taste of you before the events of Doom 2. Alternatively, the boiling blood on the ceiling drips down on you. Right before the exit is a very large computer room which is almost entirely intact. I'd argue that this is the actual command center which the demons wanted to use for themselves to organize their attacks. Now, we could leave right here, or we could take the secret exit. Well, it's really not that secret, but it does require you to be brave enough to step through a fire gate. Here is a teleporter that takes you into a small room with lost souls. It's almost like they are waiting for a command, ready to teleport out and attack whoever is infiltrating the facility. I guess they didn't get the memo. On the map, there's again a discrepancy between the actual structure and the level. I mean, it's not even round. But then I noticed that the wooden stairwell could be the spire in the middle. And that's when I realized that said spire is surrounded by several sections that fan out from the middle like orange slices. Looking at the map overview, this seems to be the case here too. So this is yet another level where we don't get to see all of it, only what's relevant. Which honestly makes sense, because why would you need to explore everything? Not even the later Doom games do that. Plus we've got other maps to get to, namely Halls of the Damned. In many ways, this one is a precursor to Tricks and Traps from Doom 2, as it's a random assortment of reality-bending locations, all of which have the sole purpose of messing with the player. And we can see this right at the start, as what initially looks like a generic space base suddenly opens up into a fiery hell chamber. Pressing the switch then opens up a door that wasn't even there before, making you question your sanity. Heck, it's even shown as one-sided on the map. On top of that, have you ever noticed how the door that you apparently took to arrive here can't actually lead anywhere? Creepy. Afterwards, you arrive in an assuming sewage area. But even here, the map messes with you by first lowering the floor, then making you trudge through hazardous waste, and finally opening up another door that didn't exist previously. And lucky you, the exit is right there. Except it isn't. Because for the first time, and I believe the only time in the entire series, the exit door itself is locked. And even if you had the key, behind this exit door is another identical exit door, and behind that one, another one. So even if you believe you're done, you're really not. All while Satan is laughing to himself. The actual base seems largely unaffected, but turning the corner, we can see what I believe is meant to be the Halls of the Damned. Rows upon rows of extremely dark wooden rooms, barely illuminated by the faint glow of torches and tortured souls on the walls. The next room looks similar, except the walls here are made of steel and cables. We can only assume that the previous room originally looked like this too, as seen by these wires and the tech walls in the hidden room with the Baron. There's even more merging of flesh with technology, meaning that this place might be alive as well, which would certainly explain a lot. While earlier areas might have been toying with you, now it's getting serious by pulling the same tricks just in pitch black darkness. The level is not just trying to screw with your brain, but scare you to death, because it's easier to kill you and because it's fun. Outside is a small computer room and a ventilation system with a door that's clearly meant to keep you out. Or maybe it's meant to keep something in. It explained why there are so many former humans here. They were trying to protect the rest of the base from whatever lurks behind it. So what is there exactly? Going through the tunnel, we arrive in a very Tricks and Traps looking chamber. Heading north takes us to yet another one, with an altar on a small platform surrounded by offerings. Disturbing the hellish ritual angers the demons and they come out to destroy you. To the south and west are two overgrown rooms, clearly being in the process of being turned into infernal structures. The former has the yellow key, while the latter uses a monster ambush to lure you into a crushing ceiling trap. Legitimately one of the meanest traps in the series. At this point you should have all the keys, so you could go back to the start to escape. But why go through all that trouble when there's an exit right here? Or, considering how much this map twists and turns, maybe this is the original exit. Of course it's not, and the level uses its most devious trick so far by lowering you into a fiery pit full of demons ready to devour you. I take it back, this is the meanest trap. Miraculously, you survive and eventually make your way back to the exit at the start. But what if this one is booby trapped too? It looks identical to the other one, so what horrors await you once you press that switch? Turns out, nothing. But this whole experience has made you extremely paranoid for sure. Proving once again what a strong character Doom Guy is, withstanding not just physical pain, but also mental torture. And it won't be the last time he will have to. On the map view of the level, what am I even looking at? It looks nothing like a space base, more like a big wooden structure, impossible to make sense of. Then again, as seen by the titular halls, maybe the outside was already turned into wood. I mean, hell is already twisting the interiors to its liking, so why not the exteriors too? Sure, it looks nonsensical to us, but then again, we're not demons. Maybe it was morphed into an unrecognizable shape on purpose, to not give you a single clue of what could be lurking inside. The penultimate map, Spawning Vats. I'm not gonna go through each room, since most of it is hellified areas amidst mostly intact tech bases. But a few locations are worth looking into. Just like Containment area, there's a big warehouse where battle has taken place. You can tell that these marines put up a good fight, but unfortunately the Pinky Demons were stronger. At least they were able to seal off the next room, an outdoor area with toxic waste pools and some pipes. Strangely, there's corpses hanging from nothing at all. Clearly an oversight by Sandy, but then again, hell's magic works in mysterious ways. There's plenty of floating objects to be found after all. As for why they're here, I'd assume they're being tortured by getting dipped into the waste from above, their melting skin dripping from their flesh. Gruesome. On the other side of the level is a hallway with silver UAC pipes. Could these be the spawning vats? No, that would be these little holes with hazardous liquids in them. I suppose the demons have found yet another use for nuclear waste, such as increasing their own numbers with it. It would also explain why so much technology in this place is mostly intact, as they do need it to actually use the spawners to grow their own hell spawn. It seems strange they'd know what to do with any of it, but then again, the Spider Mastermind likely instructed them. But it begs the question, did these spawners exist before the invasion, or did they have another purpose? Is this like Half-Life, where the UAC were already well aware of hell and were doing questionable experiments on it? Did they grow their own demons, who then overtook the place? Considering Deimos Lab, I wouldn't be at all surprised. The big room with the inverted cross and the Baron was also previously part of the tech base, before the floor was torn open and the ceiling replaced with skin. The cross was definitely created via magic and might serve as yet another portal similar to Deimos Anomaly. Or maybe this is just some demonic church. The blue carpet area is the main laboratory, with various computer panels and even a place to play cards with your buddies. What I find fascinating is how often there are torches placed near technology or inside waste. These could be damaged cables or broken pipes with liquid spilling out. Alternatively, maybe hell's magic really is powered by human technology. Much like you'd ignite gas to create a flame, the demons are doing it with radiation. At the exit, the map messes with you once again. When you flip the switch to raise the platform, it instead opens a door with a Khaki demon behind you. I genuinely love how petty hell continues to be, not even wanting to admit defeat once you escape. On the map, the level is just represented by a giant black dome which tells us nothing. But interestingly, it appears to be split open, with what looks like fire spewing out from both sides. The level isn't really split in half anywhere, so maybe this is just this hell hallway with its red walls. Alternatively, it could be the outdoor section, which is so dark from all the smoke. Before we can finish off this episode, there's two more levels, starting with the secret one, Fortress of Mystery. This is Sandy's personal favorite, and for good reason, as it has tons of storytelling. You don't even start out in the fortress proper, but rather in some underground caves that have been carved into specific shapes, almost like a rune. The fortress is located behind the wooden door and features proper brickwork. Sandy Peterson has talked about how it really doesn't take much for the demons to turn on each other, and this place is a perfect example of that. Not only is it represented by the gimmick of making the monsters infight each other, but also by the environment itself. There's only two rooms, one is filled with Barons of Hell, the other with Khaki demons, almost like they can't even stand being near each other. On top of that, the Baron area is full of Khaki demon corpses, while the Khaki demon one features dead Barons chained to the wall. No idea how the Khakos managed to do that without any arms, but judging by the Archvale faces near the door, maybe someone helped them. It also seems like some kind of rituals take place here. In the underground section, each of the alcoves has an important item, guarded by a Baron. While the Khaki demon chamber has this giant burning sigil on the floor with a soul in the middle. It seems like this soul in particular is extremely important, but whose is it? Could it be yours and you're finally claiming it back? The quote mystery portion of the level comes right at the end, as it's unclear how you're meant to leave. The door to the exit is disguised as a solid wall, requiring the computer area map. Furthermore, the fortress isn't even present on the map overview right away. Instead, it only fades in once you get close, like a reverse mirage. This really adds to its secrecy, almost as if its existence isn't even fully confirmed. Truly one of the maps of all time. And finally, we arrive at the Tower of Babel. I think everyone here is familiar with the story of the tower, how the humans tried to build it to reach the heavens, only for the languages to get scattered. What it's doing here, I have no idea. The Doom wiki points out that it serves as a pathway to hell, so maybe the demons simply repurposed it. Just like the previous level, this one isn't visible right away, but instead slowly gets built as you advance through the episode. This could mean that it's being slowly teleported up from the lower parts of hell. In-game it looks fairly unremarkable, but it does sort of resemble a tower. These spiky bits on the side could also be the support pillars we can see on the map. There are many theories for why the titular tower is not even taller than the walls surrounding it. Some say we're right at the top, but I feel it makes most sense if we're at the bottom, and the rest simply can't be rendered by Doom's engine. But with the power of modern technology, we can do it ourselves. The inside of the tower is also interesting as it's highly secure again. You can only open the doors from the inside, a concept taken from the Martian bases, along with the switches themselves. Another instance of the new being merged with the old. Surrounding the switch are more barren corpses, which has fascinating implications. We do know the demons hate each other's guts, but do they also hate royalty? Alternatively, as this is the Cyber Demons domain, who definitely outranks them, maybe these are barons that have failed at their job and were tortured to death as punishment. The Cyber Demon is also worth analyzing. He's clearly been stitched together from flesh and human technology, with metal bits and cables poking out of his skin. It even seems like his intestines were replaced with wires as well. So, I'm sorry Stelvern, but he doesn't have huge guts after all. But why though? Some of you might point towards Wolfenstein RPG, where the Harbinger of Doom loses his limbs and gets dragged back to hell. I feel like that's a bit of a lackluster explanation though, as it would mean that he just sat idle and broken for hundreds of years until he got fixed up by the time Doom takes place. On top of that, one of the wooden door textures definitely has a Cyber Demon skull on it. So this already implies that there's more than one Cyber Demon, unless it's always the same one getting resurrected. Either way, it makes sense to do so, because I doubt there's many of these beasts left. But the more important question is, who stitched him back together? Was it the demons being instructed by the Spider Mastermind? Or someone from the UAC? If what I discussed in the previous video is true, then it could be a mix of both. Remember when I said that demons saw the BFG from Phobos? Maybe they were not trying to hide it, but use it for themselves, and you stopped them just in the nick of time. But eventually, you kill the big gatekeeper and ditch all of your weapons to be able to climb down to hell. Next episode, Inferno. But that's a story for another day, one I hope you're looking forward to. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you then.
The solution to the problem with the secret baron is clear.